Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be best concealers that are available in India for dusky, dark or brown Indian skin tones. You guys really loved my best foundations for dusky or brown Indian skin tone. Some of you suggested that I do the same kind of video for concealers as well. So here it is. So without wasting any more time, let's dive into the video. The first concealer is the LOreal Pro Conceal HD Concealer, and this is the shade Fawn. Does this concealer even need an introduction? It is a very popular concealer. If you just want to pick one concealer for your makeup kit, this would be it. This is an absolute must in everyone's makeup kit, whether you're a beginner or if you're a makeup lover or a makeup artist even, you definitely need this concealer in your kit. It is really good. The finish of this concealer is sort of like a soft satiny matte finish, and the coverage is medium to buildable high coverage, but it doesn't get cakey. It really sits beautiful on the skin. Doesn't matter if you have dry, normal, combination, oily skin, it works on everybody. The shade Fawn is like my skin tone in this tube. It is a perfect match on me. They have tons of shades to choose from, which I absolutely love. They are very inclusive. Anybody from really fair to really deep chocolatey skin tone can find their match in this range. They have all the shades covered. So I use the shade Fawn mostly for concealing my blemishes and dark circles, but I do have more shades from this range as well to highlight and contour my face. This concealer stays on your skin for really long. It doesn't fade away or anything, so I absolutely love this concealer, and it is very easy to blend concealer, so you won't really have any problem whatsoever in blending this concealer. Oh, by the way, did I mention that the LA Girl has a brush tip applicator? Again, you just have to press it a little bit and the product comes off on the tip, so you can just easily go underneath your eyes to highlight on your face. Absolutely recommend the LA Girl concealer to all of you watching. The next concealer is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Full Coverage Concealer. My shade is deep in this range. Unfortunately, the shade Deep is the last shade available in their range, and this is slightly lighter than my own complexion. I fell in love as soon as I bought this concealer. It is really good. It is full coverage, but it doesn't look artificial on the skin. That's what I absolutely love about this concealer. Especially when you use this under your eyes, it really brings out a lot of brightness on the under eyes. It completely covers your dark circles and wrinkles and creates that beautiful smooth surface on the under eyes, which I absolutely love. Though it is on the full coverage, it is very easy to blend on the skin. I've almost used up this concealer, only a little bit of it is left. That really shows how much I love this concealer. It is very beautiful. It comes with a doe foot applicator, so it is very easy for you to apply the concealer under the eyes or to use it as a highlight. If you are somebody who has a deeper complexion than me, you can use this concealer to highlight. It would work perfectly to highlight your face. It dries down completely matte on the skin, so if you have a drier skin type, make sure to hydrate your under eyes properly. The next concealer that I have is the Pact Take Cover Concealer. Again, this comes in a tube packaging like this, but it has a nice doe foot applicator, which is quite unique. Just like the LA Girl Pro Conceal Concealer, the Pact Take Cover Concealer also has a ton of shades to choose from, so you can absolutely find your match in this concealer range. The shade that I have in the Pact Take Cover Concealer is called Honey Drop. So I use the shade Honey Drop more for highlighting my face, not for concealing. I have placed another order for a deeper shade of concealer to conceal my blemishes in this range. Hopefully it will come soon, but anyway, this is a beautiful concealer. Initially, I did not like this concealer so much, but after using it for a couple of times, I really fell in love with this concealer. It's kind of like a hydrating formula, so even if you have a drier skin type, you won't feel that matte effect on the under eyes. The coverage is full coverage, so even if you apply a tiny bit of this concealer, it will conceal everything properly. It has this very soft, illuminating and brightening effect on its own. It doesn't have any shimmer or anything. It has that glowy finish to it, which really looks very beautiful on the skin, especially on the under eyes. It kind of emits light and your under eyes look really bright and nice. Now this concealer can be a little tricky to blend because it is on that really thick side, so you have to use as little pressure as possible to blend underneath your eyes or anywhere on your face, but nonetheless it is a very beautiful concealer at a very affordable price. The next one is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop Concealer, and my shade is Caramel. Again, this shade Caramel is slightly lighter than my complexion, so I use this mostly to highlight my face. This one comes in this acrylic tube with a nice doe foot applicator which is slanted at the tip, so it goes very perfectly on the under eyes or any curvature on your face easily. They do have a couple of more deeper shades in this collection, so it is perfect for dusky or brown Indian complexions. This concealer again is a full coverage concealer. Just like the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation, this concealer is also full coverage, and it dries down to a completely matte finish. So if you have an oily skin type, you would really like this concealer because it dries down to a fully matte finish. It really covers up all your imperfections beautifully, especially on the under eyes. I do notice a lot of difference when I use this concealer on the under eyes. It really covers up all these bags that you see on the under eyes perfectly, and your under eyes surface looks super smooth. You can absolutely pick this concealer whenever you want that full glam finish on your skin, especially for an event or a party. This is amazing. The next concealer is one of my favorite concealers. This is the L'Oreal Paris True Match Concealer. The shade that I have is called Medium Deep. And by the way, this is their older packaging. The newer packaging comes in a nice long tube. I've almost finished this concealer up. As you can see, only a little bit of it is left, and I really don't want to finish it up, so that's why you can see a little bit of the concealer right here. I don't think this concealer range has deeper shades to choose from in India, which is really sad because it is a very beautiful concealer. It's more on the hydrating side, and the coverage is light to medium. It is very natural on the skin. It's not full coverage at all. It's very light and natural looking on the skin. You cannot use this concealer to conceal any of your blemishes. This is more of a brightening concealer. I absolutely love this concealer to brighten and slightly highlight my face. This is the concealer that I go for whenever I'm doing a natural sort of a look where I want minimal coverage from my concealer, and this works beautifully. Even though this concealer is on the hydrating side, it really does manage to stay on my skin really well. If you're a drier skinned person, you would absolutely love this concealer, especially if you are somebody who likes that natural coverage. This is the one to go for. It is beautiful. I also like to use this concealer on top of other concealers just to brighten up my face. Like I mentioned earlier, I would use a concealing concealer and then I would add this concealer to bring that brightening effect and highlighting effect onto my face, and this does that beautifully. Then I have the Milani Conceal and Perfect Concealer. This is a recent discovery of mine. So the shade that I have is called 160 Warm Tan. They do have more deeper and duskier shades to choose. This is slightly of a pricier concealer, but all the money is totally worth it because it is full coverage. It blends beautifully on the skin. You won't really struggle to blend this concealer on the skin. It has this blurring property to it, so wherever you use this concealer, your skin looks blurred out. This is not light to medium coverage at all. It is completely full coverage. So you can absolutely use this concealer to conceal any of your blemishes on your face as well. When I used this concealer for the first time, this really reminded me of the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Concealer, but then I realized that this concealer has a bit more coverage than the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Concealer. Even if you have a drier skin type, I think you will really like this because it is not that drying, gripping matte formula. It has this satin finish to it. It's a beautiful full coverage concealer. If you have the budget for it, you can totally pick this up. Next, I have the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. Again, this has a long tube packaging and you have a beautiful slim doe foot applicator which fits the curvature of your face perfectly. The shade that I have today is called Cafe and the number is 50. I think this is their deepest shade in this particular range. This is literally like my skin tone in a tube. This concealer works as a beautiful natural concealing concealer. You can totally go for this concealer if you like that very nice natural no makeup sort of a look, but you want to cover all of your blemishes and you don't want people to detect that you're wearing a concealer, this is the one to pick up. It has this beautiful hydrating formula. It works on dry skin types, oily skin types, whatever skin type you have. The coverage is medium. It's not light or not full coverage. It's right in between. It's a medium coverage. It conceals all of your blemishes perfectly, even without a color corrector, and looks very natural on the skin, which is what I really like about this concealer. It blends on the skin very effortlessly, so if you are a beginner, you won't really have any problem whatsoever in blending this concealer out. I also have lighter shades in this concealer range, which I love to highlight my face. I absolutely love the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer for how natural it looks on the skin. The next concealer is also from Maybelline, and this is also a very popular concealer from Maybelline. So this is their Instant Age Rewind Eraser Eye Concealer. It comes in this very unique packaging, which has a squishy sponge at the top of it, and you just have to rotate it a couple of times and the product dispenses right on the sponge. It kind of gets messy, but when you apply it on the under eyes, it feels really soothing and relaxing. So the shade that I have is called Caramel, which is the last deepest shade available in India, and unfortunately this is more of a highlighting shade on me. So all of you Dusky beauties watching, this is not going to work as a concealing concealer, but only as a highlighting or brightening concealer on your skin tones. So this concealer is sort of on the thicker side, and it has a lot of coverage to it. It's kind of above medium coverage, and not only that, this concealer dries up pretty fast on the skin, so you have to be very quick while you blend out this concealer, otherwise it will dry up very fast and you will have a hard time blending this out. This is a perfect concealer for your under eyes since it has that full coverage. It really manages to smoothen out the surface on your under eyes and hides all of the dark circles pretty well. Next, I have the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer, which is one of my most favorite concealers out there. The shade that I have is called C13, which works as a beautiful concealing concealer. The shade C13 has a slight bit of orange hint to it, so it conceals and corrects at the same time on my complexion. I also have a lighter shade in this particular range as well to brighten and highlight my face. This concealer range also has a ton of shades to choose from really fair to really deep skin tone, so you can absolutely find a match from this particular range. It just blurs out your skin in a beautiful way, sort of like a filtered effect on your skin. It blends very easily on the skin. People really compare this concealer to Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, but I think this is a better concealer than the Tarte Shape Tape. It is very beautiful concealer. Tarte Shape Tape can be a little difficult to blend it out because it is very thick in consistency. This has a lot of coverage, but it blends out beautifully on the skin effortlessly. Again, this concealer has that soft blurring and filtered effect on your skin, which really makes your skin look super flawless and your texture on the skin looks very smooth. This is the best full coverage concealer on a budget with a lot of shade options to choose from, so I absolutely recommend the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer to all of you. Next, we have the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer, and the shade that I have is called 317 Almond. Now this concealer has a very similar packaging to the Tarte Shape Tape. So this is how big the Tarte Shape Tape looks like, and this is the L'Oreal Infallible, which is very similar in size. Even the doe foot applicator on the Infallible concealer is very similar to the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. You just need a very tiny little dot of this concealer on your under eyes, and this just covers up everything so well. This is a very matte formula, so if you have a drier skin type, I don't really think you will really like this. This is more for oily skin types and who love a full coverage. Unfortunately, this is the shade which is the deepest in their range. They have only 3 shades to choose from, and this is their darkest shade. Can you imagine? It's a beautiful concealer. I would really appreciate if L'Oreal brings in more deeper and darker shades in this range, because it is a beautiful full coverage concealer. I know this is slightly on the pricier side, but this is the most fullest coverage concealer that I'm showing you in today's video. It's really annoying that only 3 shades are available to choose from. The shade Almond works as a very nice brightening concealer on my face. I just have to use a tiny bit. If I go a little overboard, this is going to look cakey on your face, so you have to be very careful when you use this concealer. The formula of this concealer, however, is very different to the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. This is more of a matte formula. The Tarte Shape Tape has this really rich emollient texture, but this is more of a drying matte finish. And once this concealer sets, it just sets in place and nothing budges. It really gets onto the creases on the under eyes and fills in all those creases perfectly, and the under eyes look super smooth and flawless. If you have a deeper skin tone than me, you can still use this concealer, but only to highlight your face or to brighten your under eyes, not so much for concealing, because this shade is a couple of shades lighter than my own complexion, and I use this concealer to brighten and highlight the under eyes. If you like that extreme full coverage matte finish from a concealer, totally pick this up. It's really worth your money. Next, I have the L16R Camo Concealer, which is a recent launch in India. The shade I have is called Olive, which has a lot of golden yellow undertones to it, which acts as a nice brightening concealer on my skin tone personally. The shade Olive works as a nice natural brightening shade on my complexion. This particular concealer range has a lot of shades to choose from, so even if you have a deeper skin tone than me, you can absolutely find a good match in this concealer range. Again, this comes in this tube packaging with a huge doe foot applicator, just like the L'Oreal Infallible one. Now this formula really reminds me of the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. It's very thick and full in coverage, so you have to be very careful when you blend this concealer out, because it can get a little patchy because of that emollient texture and a full coverage in it. Even if you have a drier skin type, you can absolutely check out the L Camo Concealer, because it's not drying on the skin. Tiny bit of this concealer goes a long way because it has that nice full coverage. So yeah, this is another great concealer which has launched in India, and this is a very good one. Then I have the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Concealer, which is such a beautiful natural concealer. The shade that I have is called Deep Tan, which acts as a very nice naturally brightening shade on my complexion. Personally, I like to use this concealer whenever I'm doing a natural makeup look, but I do want that extra brightness on my skin. I love using this concealer on the under eyes. They have another deeper shade in this collection, which is called Dark Cocoa, which suits more deeper and darker Indian complexions beautifully, but it's been out of stock for a while now. Anyway, the shade Medium Deep Tan works as a beautiful concealer on my skin tone, just to brighten up my face a little bit. This is more of a light to medium coverage concealer, so works beautifully for those everyday natural looks. This is one of those concealers which gives coverage but looks very beautiful and natural on the skin. So yeah, this is a beautiful concealer from Wet n Wild. Last but not the least, I have a beautiful concealer palette to talk about. This is the Nykaa Skin Genius Conceal and Correct palette in the shade Deep. As you can see, this concealer palette has a beautiful shade variety for deeper and dusky Indian complexions. This has 6 concealers in the same with 2 color correctors as well, which is perfect. Usually deeper, duskier complexions have a lot of pigmentation to cover, so such kind of color correctors come in very handy for you when you have a palette like this. You can also highlight with this lighter shade of concealer, and you can use the other shades to conceal, and you have this really rich deep chocolatey shade as well, which you can absolutely use it as a contour on your face. The formula of these concealers are very rich and creamy in texture. They feel like butter. When you touch them, it's that creamy. They really remind me of the MAC Studio Conceal pots. They are very creamy and rich. These have a very similar texture to the MAC concealer. And not only that, these have a lot of coverage as well. So a little bit of these concealers go a long way. I mostly use these sort of shades to conceal my blemishes, and they work beautifully in concealing them. Since they have this rich thick consistency, they cover up everything beautifully. If you're a makeup artist, you can also keep this in your kit. This is gonna come in very handy for you to work on dusky clients. Or if you're somebody who has a lot of pigmentation on your face and acne marks and spots, this is gonna be a best bet, because it has all the shades that you would require to conceal all of those blemishes and hyperpigmentation on your face. I think they also have another deeper shade in this particular range as well, so if you are somebody who has a more chocolatey skin tone, you can also check out the other one. But this one pretty much works on NC44, NC45, NC46 and probably even NC47. So guys, those were all of my favorite concealers for dusky or brown Indian skin tones. These are the concealers that I reach out for most of the times. I do have other concealers in my drawer which I rarely reach out for. These are my most favorite and most used concealers of all time. So I really hope those of you with dusky, dark, deep, brown Indian skin tones found this video useful. All the other details about my makeup look today will be listed in the description box, so don't worry about that. So yeah, I really hope that you guys found this video useful and helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up, comment, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel for more such videos. Hit the bell icon to get notified each time I upload a new video, and I shall see you guys soon in my next one. Bye!